problems that happen, they do not happen because of the difference in geopolitical views. They happen because of the different cultural conditioning. The standard approach to diversity, the standard approach to multiculturalism in the United States is actually how to communicate better, how to deal with that better. And I'm thinking, if we're throwing the baby with the bathwater, we actually need to know how to capitalize on it and allocate, as I said, your cultural capital very, very well. A cultural matrix is your picture of reality, the way you perceive life. It actually is enculturated in you with your very first language. And if you have several first languages, then you will have several cultural software in your mind. Not one, several, simultaneously. But normally it's only one, and it is absolutely invisible to you. It goes straight into your subconscious, and when you are, say, 12 years old, that's it, you're done. You're a cooked cultural product. And it's absolutely unconscious. You do not know, for example, you would consider something moral, but that does not necessarily mean that it's something objective. It is a cultural value that sits in you. That's why you only discover that somebody thinks differently when you get in contact with somebody else from a different culture, and then you're so surprised because it questions the fundamentals of your thinking that are unconscious for you at this moment. And each culture is a matrix. In other words, it's that box in which you sit, and this is how your reality works. This is how a culture matrix looks like. For example, you grow up in one culture, and you're a bluefish. Everything is wonderful in your world. Not wonderful, you kind of feel that something is uncomfortable, but not too much. Your world is blue, your water is blue, you see that it's blue, and everything is wonderful. If you are in the red cultural matrix, everything is wonderful. It's not the Bolshevik color, it's just red because it looks good on the screen. And so what I would like to tell you is that everything is fine in your world. And so you're in these bowls, and you don't see what the color of the water of another person is. You don't even know that you have your own color of the water. And let me tell you what happens. When you become either an immigrant, or you're born as an ethnic minority, or racial minority in the United States, you very well know that the water, the main water, is different than you. So you're red, but the water is blue. So your first impulse is become as blue as you can possibly get there. Would you agree with me? Like really, really, really blue. So you forget that you're red in the first place. You forget that there's anything good in red, and you just throw it out of the window. So you become a poor man's copy of blue. Do you understand? That's how we're used to thinking. Blend in, blend in, blend in. My students always are asking me a question. How can I blend in? I say never blend in. On the contrary, go the opposite direction. And I'm now going to show to you the color of your water. Man. Individualism versus collectivism. It is a classic cultural dimension that they use in cultural analysis. And let me tell you what it means. It means how you see life. And now I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and tell me whether I'm right or not. If you are from the mainstream culture, let's say national culture of the United States of America, is it true or not that when you're growing up, your parents are telling you that your major role in life and your major task in life is actually find everything that you have going for you, realize it, and self-actualize it, and that is your #1 role in life, correct or not? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, well let me tell you how collectivists think. Anyone here is of Latin American descent or Central American? Okay, let me ask you a question. When you're growing up, is it true or not that your parents were telling you, please capitalize on your abilities, please become as accomplished as you can be, but your most important task is to be a good daughter to me, a good niece to my parents, please stand up and tell me yes, true or false, and tell me your name very quickly, and if you disagree with me, disagree right away. True on the scale from 1 to 10, how true? Okay, let's take 8. So you can see United States of America is #1 in individualism, and South America is actually on the opposite end of the spectrum. And guess what? Majority of people who come to this country, or they are a cultural minority, are from the opposite side of the spectrum. Do you see the spectrum? So we're trying to be as blue as we can be, but we're actually not blue. We're red. but we kind of try to acquire the bluish tint. Like, for example, look at me. I spent $15,000 trying to get rid of my Russian accent. Forget it. Wasted money. Hired a guy from Hollywood, a speech trainer. Failed. Anyway, staying with my own. So look at the advantages of the leading national culture. This is what it does. People who are individualists, according to cultural analysis, not as people, it's not a moral judgment, and it's not a political concept, none of them. It is a cultural analysis concept. So, they are self-directed and self-driven. True, a Japanese is not self-directed and is not self-driven. Then they know how to ask for themselves. We clinically do not know how to do it. I routinely see in United States universities, you would have a professor who's of Chinese descent. We do not ask like this. We're very, very different. You wait until the boss tells you what to do. Do you see what I'm trying to say? And as a result, you don't quite know how to negotiate with them. Then, for example, you know how to establish boundaries in relationships with colleagues. You do not let personal feelings to get in the way of work. You tend to carry responsibility individually, and you make a point to be self-sufficient to the point that you don't even go to God because you really want to be self-sufficient. Do you see what I'm saying? Collectivists are very, very different. Let me tell you what we do differently from you. We effortlessly are team-oriented, and we're aware of the team. You do not need to conduct team training with us. It comes with the blood, it comes with the acculturation, it comes with the way you think. You don't even think about it, it's unconscious for you. And then you tend to spread the load across the group. It naturally happens. You never have to struggle with the fact that someone will bail out because they're responsible to the collective. And the collective will beat the crap out of them if they don't deliver. You see? And then we focus on cooperation and think of the overall project. Let me give you an example. I'm an advisor in an aerospace program in France. Several countries participating: Russia, China, India, United States. Let me tell you what was happening. Russians always know each other's business, always sticking their nose in each other's business. Chinese always knowing what's going on with their colleagues. Indians always knowing what's going on among their group. Americans, like a silo, go very, very deep and very, very independent. Very, very deep and very independent. Do you recognize the picture? Do you? So it's a very, I'm not saying it's bad. Please understand, it's just different. But it needs to be recognized, and it's normally not recognized. But look how enticing these things are. For example, emotional cohesion in a collective and professional relationships come naturally, because collectivists do not know the boundary between professional relationships and personal relationships. For us, and by the way, if you negotiate international contracts and you go to a collectivist culture, do not even hope, do not even think about pressing on professional responsibility. Professional responsibility does not exist. All the personal loyalty would get the job done with you. Do you see what I'm trying to say? And but look at the positive side. We have emotional cohesion, and it's effortless social bloom. For example, when you hire someone for a welcoming committee, or you ask somebody to be on the welcoming committee, people with collectivist background will do a wonderful job because they automatically see themselves as a part of the group. You see, they will never, you will never make them remind about anything. They will always remember how to do things themselves. I mean, all minorities that currently come to the United States or are born in the United States are much more collectivist. Here's what I see you, mainstream culture, do. You continuously feel guilty. Like, oh, will I offend her? Yeah, so? Oh, will I say something wrong? Is it politically correct? Should I say it? Should I not say it? I said, well, listen, just say it, okay? It's okay. People will forgive you if they think that you're generally kind to them. And then another thing, you apologize for your mainstreamness. You think, well, how can I do so that I do not offend? Don't worry, it's okay. Do not be so fearful of offending. And do not tiptoe around or feel bad for minorities. Don't. Because in a sense, if we recognize what we have going for ourselves, we can contribute greatly into the national culture of the United States of America. And then what you need to work for is cultural expansion. Because you live in the water, that is your major culture, then you sometimes think you do not have water, but you do. And if you learn the taste of red water, then it expands you very, very much and globalizes you very, very nicely. And this is the future direction, and that's why you have this cultural competency training, because that's exactly what it is, it's cultural expansion. And deepen and expand your authenticity. What I mean by that is do not define yourself narrowly by your culture, however it is. Go broader. Take one more software, cultural software, and another cultural software, and another cultural software. Especially do it with your children. And let me tell you what I would advise to minorities. Listen, you are habitually going against your brain. You're so used to doing it that you forget what you do very, very well. And so it is not constructive for you to go against your brain in every possible respect. Work with it. Polish your best traits. Never lose sight of that, because it will improve your effectiveness as a worker and as a professional. And then, rather than me trying to get rid of my Russian accent, why don't I become a keynote speaker for cultural analysis? And maybe that would be the way for me to capitalize on things professionally. See what I'm saying? Because my Russian accent is no liability here. It's actually, the foreigner the better, right? So, and let me tell you, the figurative example that I would like to give to minorities is the following. Do not straighten your curls, because it's a poor man's copy of straight hair. Go the opposite direction. Wear your curls the way they are and come up with particular hairstyles. And it actually is not about hairstyles at all. It's actually about management practices. It's about HR practices. It's about HR promotion practices. And I don't know, a whole host of issues. But the example that I would like to give, a metaphor, is if you go along the lines of your talent and your type of curl, then everybody will recognize the value of that. Like, for example, you can be in Sweden today, and blondes will be wearing all these dreadlocks, and I never knew how you can do it with that blonde, straight hair. But when I was here in New Orleans, running on my monochronic tour of New Orleans, I actually was looking, I was thinking, oh, that's how they look in nature. Oh, now I can see who borrowed what. Or for example, when I'm in Turkey and I'm listening to Turkish rap, I laugh my head off, but I'm thinking, listen, African-American culture came up with a new form of art. Look, spreads like wildfire, because it's authentic and it's very, very